Lesson 51, Enclitics. Catherine, in this lesson, I'm really going to lean on you for your knowledge.
Well played. And that gets us into what the etymology or the word history of the word enclitic is. Because an enclitic is a word that literally leans on another word for its accent.
Is it from the Greek verb klino?
Yeah, klino, exactly. And then en, which is just in or on.
Or maybe upon, it leans upon something or leans into something.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a Greek verb, klino, which means to lean. And so that's the etymology. That's where we get the word enclitic. It's literally a word that leans on another word for the sake of reckoning accents, like where you put the accents.
Right.
So, Catherine, when we say that an enclitic is a word that leans on another word, what does that mean specifically? What does that mean as far as reckoning accents?
So what that means is that the word, while it has an accent in its vocabulary entry, so we're using a me as the example word here. A me does have an accent on it when we just look at a me on its own. It has an accent on that final syllable.
Like if you see it in a dictionary or something.
Right. That's what you'll see. But a me doesn't always have an accent at that point, and it doesn't always have an accent, period. Whether it has an accent and where the accent goes depends upon the word that is before a me. So we have in our example, Georgos, a me. Well, here there is no accent on a me because there is an accent on the final syllable of Georgos. And because a me is an enclitic, it does not need an accent when there's an accent on the final syllable of the word that's right before the a me.
So an enclitic is a word that interacts with the word that came right before it, and it interfaces with that word, and oftentimes it wants to just give away its accent to that word.
Mm-hmm.
So in this example here, Georgos emi, the word emi has completely given away its accent. In some textbooks, when they describe what an enclitic is, they'll say it's a word that wants to give away its accent.
Mm-hmm. So it's one of those generous little words that doesn't think it needs it to keep its accent. It likes giving it away.
Excuse me, sir, would you like an accent? And so, Catherine, the next thing we need to talk about here is the syllable counting unit. Up to this point, we've talked about individual Greek words and how the accent is reckoned on an individual Greek word.
Right.
Now we're talking about having two Greek words working as a team or as a unit, and we're reckoning accent based on a larger syllable counting unit, which is comprised of two words.
Yes.
It's as if the word Georgos and emi have joined together into one larger syllable counting unit.
Yes.
And we can see here, there's a diagram in which we number the syllables from the end, and we're reckoning Georgos and emi not as two separate words. They still are two separate words. There's still a space between them.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as counting syllables and reckoning where to put the accent, we treat them as if they are all one word.
Right. And because we treat them as if they were all one word, we end up with a different counting result than if we were treating Georgos and emi as two separate words. Because when we look at that diagram, as our listeners remember, you have to have an accent on one of the last three syllables of a syllable counting unit. And so here, the accent is on the third from the end of our syllable counting unit, gos. And that means that there does not need to be an accent on either a or me, which are the next to last syllable and the last syllable, respectively.
When you join those two words together into one syllable counting unit, it changes the requirements of where you need to have an accent and still obey the rules of Greek accents.
Mm-hmm.
So, Catherine, as you said a moment ago, in ancient Greek, you are required to have some kind of accent somewhere within the last three syllables of a word.
Exactly.
So if we're treating georgos and emi as one syllable counting unit, that means that either on the gos syllable, the a syllable, or the mi syllable, on one of those three, we have to have an accent.
Exactly.
But here, since emi is an enclitic, it wants to give away its accent to the previous word. And so here, that's what's happened. Emi has given away its accent to the word georgos. And so georgos keeps its accent that it already had on the gos syllable. And so we end up with georgosemi. Mm-hmm. And you can hear as I pronounce it, I'm putting the accent on the syllable gos and then less emphasis on the word emi. So it sounds like georgosemi.
Right. And that fact that we're treating georgosemi as one unit also determines the fact that the accent on gos is still an acute. It's not a grave, which is what we would expect if we had two words next to each other and the accent on the last syllable.
Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah. And since it's being treated as all one word, it stays in that acute position.
Right. So if we had a different arrangement of words, if we had a different word before emi, the accents might end up in a different scheme, right?
Yes.
But in this particular example, we have the accent on gos.
Yes, exactly.
So in this lesson, our goal has been to give you a very simple introduction to enclitics. We have georgos and we have emi. You can see how emi is an enclitic. It gives away its accent to the previous word. They join together into one syllable counting unit. You start counting from the end of the syllable counting unit. And as they can see here in this numbered list, item 3 says that an enclitic can actually cause the previous word to have two accents.
Yes.
And we don't see that here. We did not give them an example of how that happens here, but they will, in a few lessons, see an example of that.